Tēnā koutou katoa, and welcome everyone to Festival of Flash, which is part of the 2026 New Zealand National Flash Fiction Day celebrations here in Aotearoa. Ko Rachel Smith tokuinga. My name is Rachel Smith, and I am one of the city chairs in Otatahi, an editor at Flash Frontier, and also a writer of Flash. Now, I'm very happy to be here today for our Kōrero National Flash Fiction Day City Chairs Questions of Joy, where we'll talk about joy in writing, in community, and in what we read. So New Zealand National Flash Fiction Day has been celebrated across Aotearoa since 2012, and that is in a large part due to the people that you see here today, whose work behind the scenes brings together adult and youth writers to read and celebrate short fiction on the shortest day. So yeah, welcome to you all. So I'm going to start off with a brief introduction, and full bios can be found on our website, and then we'll get into some readings. So I thought I'd start from north to south, across the country. So in Taitokero, Northland, we have Deborah Jowett and Sue Barker. If you want to give her a wave as I introduce you, that'd be good too. Thank you. So Deborah lives in Pāroa Bay. Birds, wind and weather are constants of the local seascape and often find their way into her writing. Flash is her favourite medium for exploring the world and the ways that we respond to it. Welcome, Deb. And Sue grew up on Sydney Harbour and now lives in Waipu. She was published in Te Moana o Reo Ocean of Languages in 2024 and was highly commended in the 2025 National Flash Fiction Day and placed third in Micro Madness. So welcome.
Kia ora.
Kia ora. Heading south to Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland, we have Moata McNamara and Leanne Comer. Moata Ngā Te Mahurehure has been working with various forms of art and languages for over 50 years. Her work is held in private collections in Europe and Aotearoa. She holds a Master's in Art and Design and a PhD in Māori Development. Focusing on making art and poetic writing, her recent work centres around issues of memory and identity. Welcome.
Kia ora.
And Leanne was born and raised in Australia. She lives in Auckland, where she spent many years working as a secondary school English teacher. Leanne published articles in Good Magazine and Flash Frontier. And We Know Not When is her first novel and will be published in July from At the Bay I Te Kokoru. Congratulations, Leanne. That's very exciting. And in Kirikiriroa, Hamilton, welcoming Ime Corkery, who will be hosting the event with Dayton Rao. Ime is an African-European poet whose work gives voice to those the page has long overlooked. Her writing is driven by a deep commitment to awareness, representation, and reclamation. Ime's poetry has appeared in various literary journals, and Persephone's Pancreas marks her debut poetry collection. Ime works at University of Waikato as a teaching fellow while she completes her PhD. Welcome, Ime. And in Poniki, Wellington, we have Constance Pahua. Born in Singapore, Constance has spent half her life in Wellington, a city that has shaped how she sees the world and deepened her love of kupu, kōrero, and oahatanga. She is currently working on a dystopian female vampire novel set in post-earthquake Poniki, which sounds amazing. And Constance is also the person who does all our wonderful social media for National Flash Fiction Day, so thank you so much too for that, Constance. And down south in Otatahi, Christchurch, we have Nima Singh. So Nima is from Otatahi and writes poetry and flash fiction. Nima is a first-generation New Zealander of Gujarati Indian descent. Nima's work has been published widely, including Te Moana o Reo Oceans of Languages and A Clear Dawn, New Asian Voices from Aotearoa, New Zealand. And Nima is currently Assistant Head of English at Te Aratai College. And not here with us today, but very, very important to New Zealand National Flash Fiction Day, is Michelle Alvey and Lola Alvey. So Michelle is the founder of New Zealand National Flash Fiction Day and Flash Frontier, and both she and Lola are editors at Flash Frontier and are also both city chairs of the Otipoti event this year. And this includes that they're having the event itself as well as a poster series and writing workshops and writers and performers. So we have a wonderful bunch of city chairs from across the country. Very happy to have you all here today. And I thought we could start off with sharing some of your own work, some of your a reading of your choice. And I thought we'd go from south to north. So Nima, if you would like to start off, that would be great.
Kia ora, everyone. I'm going to share two short poems with you today. One is one that I wrote quite recently. It's called Green Skin. Imagine if our new skin cells were tipped bright green like new leaves in the bush, bright against dark, flush with new life, ready to face anything. Fluorescent green skin blinking with promise like Gatsby's light or the green ocean glow after a night of heavy rain. You would walk around and see people glowing green. And the second one is one that was published a few years ago, and it's called Gulab Jambu. Baana hateti banavyu che. Ba's fingers gather marble and flour. She kneads in milk until the dough is smooth. Drops fat yellow ovals, jambu, into the pot of hot ghee, 3 or 4 at a time. They froth and fizz. With the stainless steel jarro, she rolls them, cajoles them to golden perfection. Once cool, they are submerged in jaggery, sugar syrup. They sleep in their fragrant bath, dreaming of gulab, roses. They are a large bowl of sweet newlywed blessings, gulab jambu.
Thank you, Naima. Having eaten gulab, that was amazing. That was great. Thank you. Constance, would you like to do your reading now?
Yeah. So I'm going to read 2 Ramare shorts, and they are 140 characters. The National Book Council used to run this every Friday, every Ramare. They give you 6 words, and you have to come up with any kind of verse in 140 characters. I won a couple of times. So this one that I'm going to read is about the Titanic, and the 6 words that we were given was some, peace, last, open, matter, and silent. And so I wrote about the Titanic. Some eyes, a fallen piece, sang the Titanic. Eva Hart, last survivor. We waited on the open seas. In a matter of minutes, the screams grew silent. That's it. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Thank you, Constance. Ine, would you like to read for us?
So this piece, it comes out of the Te Moana Reo anthology, and I actually was really missing my cousin who doesn't live in New Zealand when I wrote this, and so I wrote it in essentially her language and the language we grew up with. So kom kuier by my, los jou warm baars by jou swart kat. Kuier by my waar die winter jou nek kan kus. Kuier by my waar jy altyd jou deadly ponies handsak onder oog moet hou. Kuier by my waar die vodka die lemmetjie sap oorweldig. Kom sit by my in 'n rokers benevelde droomkroeg waar niemand Engels praat nie. So, come visit me, leave your warm perch with your black cat. Visit me where winter can kiss your neck. Visit me where you need to keep an eye on your deadly pony's handbag. Visit me where vodka outweighs the lime. Come sit with me in a smoker's dive bar dream where no one speaks English. Thank you.
Can you tell us what was the first language that you read?
So it's in Afrikaans. So I have quite an interesting family tree. I've got Xhosa on the one side and Afrikaans on the other. So
thank you. It was beautiful reading. Right, Moata, would you like to read for us, please?
I've just printed out a piece, so I'll read that. And it was this piece was written very quickly on leaving a restaurant. That pie was very dry, I say to the manager quietly on leaving. In fact, I had not had such a dry pie before. If a cafe knew a pie might be a little dry, they would usually serve it with a small jar of sauce or some dollops of chutney on the side. In this case, the dry pie had to be swept down with glugs of the apple juice I had ordered. And apple juice does not go well with the meagre flavours of the pie. Dry pastry, accompanied by a few slivers of overcooked chicken and some aged leeks, is not my cup of tea. A cup of tea might have aided the swallowing of the dry pie better than the apple juice. Next time I eat a dry pie, I must remember to order tea.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Moata. Leanne.
Kia ora. I'm as Rachel said, I've got my first novel coming out with at Bay in July, and so I'm going to read you the first page of that. And the reason I've chosen the first page is because this piece had its origins in one of Michelle's 52 to 50 online courses. So a couple of you may have even heard this before or an earlier version of this. So it was originally a piece of 250 words, which is now the first page of the novel. So the task, just so you're wondering what the task was, that Michelle gave us was to write a story in which the following three things appear: a grandfather clock, the colour yellow, and a circle or circular shape. Think of how these three things might fit into the world on the page and where they are situated in relation to each other. And so just the other thing you need to know is that the action's taking place in 1877. So that might explain some things. A shaft of light pierced through the curtains, illuminating the empty space where the clock had always been. It was my mother's prized possession and the only thing of value that we owned. Made of dark, glossy wood, it had a round brass face that glowed golden when struck by the afternoon sun. For as long as I could remember, the clock had stood in the corner, tall and stately, its swaying pendulum dividing the silence into tiny, precise slices. In the days that followed the disappearance of the clock, other, more meagre possessions also began to vanish. The faded brown sofa, mother's old rocking chair, the chest of drawers. The few items that remained were carefully packed away into three large trunks that had mysteriously appeared in the narrow hallway. Perhaps I should not have been so surprised. Throughout the summer, there had been a tremulous tension in our home. Something was afoot. At night, after my brother Charlie and I were tucked away in our shared bed, our parents' voices drifted through the darkness. Father's urgent and persuasive, mother's softer, more hesitant. These exchanges were peppered with unfamiliar words: colonies, emigration, assisted passage. The days grew shorter and cooler, the leaves turning to red and gold. It was autumn. A decision had been made.
Oh, amazing. That makes me really look forward to reading the rest of your book, Leanne.
Thank you.
Deb, would you like to read for us now?
Sure. I've been researching the life of my grandfather for about 18 months and writing pieces sporadically, trying to find a way to put them together. One of the things that I've learned over time through papers past is that a feature of my grandfather's coaching of his sons in swimming was that they were great stylists. The journalists comment on the style, how stylish their winning races are. Now, this is something that I wrote a few years ago. It's about my father, who had grown up as a champion swimmer. It's called Swimming Lessons from a Whaleman. My father was an aquamarine man. When he swam, he breathed smoothly, like a sea creature. People stopped and watched him. On land, he breathed easily too. He made me think whalemen could be real. He said, "It's all about the breathing. Get that right and everything else follows." He was standing by the pool, one arm bent like a wing. He didn't wait for me to breathe before he showed me how to cup my hand and gather the water like a bundle of twigs. That's what he said, even though it wasn't something anyone really did. Thanks.
Beautiful. And lastly, Sue.
Oh, thank you. This is a very short piece. I just think I'll just read it. Excuse me if I've got my head turned slightly. Homing. I drive the truck in heavy silence, slow through shimmering fields of pearl white sorghum. It's a cool, clear morning. Good race day, he says. Merlin could reach 60 with a tailwind. I nibble at my nail polish. At the release site, boots crunch, and as I pull back the trailer curtains, he yanks the pin. 1,000 pigeons take flight. Musky wing-beat wind and downy dust particles hit our faces. We watch the feather explosion, the wheeling flow as they circle, form a flock, choosing their direction. He steps up beside me, closer than we've been in months. They'll beat us home.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sue. Thank you all for those wonderful readings. And it's obvious to me that, as well as your great organisation skills and pulling off an event, you're all wonderful writers as well. And I feel like in all of those stories, there was lots of different aspects of joy, whether that was intentional or not, whether through connection of people and place and food and swimming style and Deadly Pony's handbags and, lots of wonderful things in there. So now we're going to, jump into a discussion about joy. And I guess firstly, thinking about joy in writing. So what about writing brings you joy? And thinking about, I guess, your own writing and other things that you've read, and in particular, a short form, whether that's defined as flash fiction or prose poetry or anything in between. What is it about this short pieces that you really enjoy? And anyone can jump in, or else I will ask.
Well, I think they're short in words, but they're really long in depth. I think that's the key for me, is that there's so much left unsaid. The reader has to fill the spaces, and we leave the reader to contribute a great deal. But the sense of going deep but short is really quite profound, I find.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of like packing everything into a really small suitcase and finding ways of getting everything into there. I was talking with Leanne. Leanne and I were having a coffee and talking about joy, and sometimes enjoyment's there. And for me, a lot of what I find enjoyable is when I start making connections through researching something, not just the process of writing, but having to look outside the writing to search something and finding these really interesting connections that I can then bring into the writing. I love those moments. As much as and sometimes more than the actual writing itself. Although I can't say there was much research in the dry pie, but
I so agree with you, Moata, about the research. You'll come upon something, and then, it's almost rabbit hole material at times because you can get so carried away. But I just was wanting to talk about the joy of these short stories. One thing is you don't know how the reader is going to take them. And I think that's a fantastic thing. Or you can be very clear, but even so, I think people can take things in their own way. And one of the writers who really inspires me with taking historical points for very, very short stories is Tim Jones. One of his stories is about Scott in the Antarctic, and another one that's just come out is about Napoleon's retreat from Russia. and you just wouldn't conceive of those things, and they're just brilliant stories.
Mm.
To carry on Martha's point about doing a little bit of history research, when I was doing my Ramare for the Titanic, I actually did do a quick research because I wanted to sort of, even for 140 character verse, I wanted it to come from a particular point of view. And Eva Hart, she was one of the last few survivors. She was only 7 years old then. And she had witnessed the ship being split into two. And the testimony was never believed for 73 years until the explorer found the sunken Titanic and it was split into two. So I did do a bit of quick research. And and I was hoping that even for a very short 140 character, that her perspective could sort of still come true.
Mm. Yeah, it's great when you discover those little gems that so there's sort of wow moments in it, in writing or in the process.
And I going off what Constance said as well, is there's an embodiment of character in flash fiction that the good ones, you're right there, you're in the character and you're experiencing those moments in such detail to get the feeling on the page, like of the dry pie. I could feel the dryness of the pie. And and I think that's what is great about flash fiction, is that embodiment really has to be there for the amount of character of words that's there.
Well, I was just thinking about just this idea of joy and how so much around us, like globally and locally, is like the opposite of joy. And I've found myself in things that I've been writing recently, just trying to sort of make sense of it. And I guess, through writing, we can process some of that and make sense of it, and also find some way of hope and joy within all of that, because and I think that's how writing can be quite a powerful thing.
Leanne, did you have any comments about joy? Unmute, yeah.
Yes, I as Moata knows, I have a bit of a complex relationship to joy. I maybe I'm overthinking it here, but to me the word joy presents me with, I wouldn't say I'm someone who experiences a lot of joy. I'm more someone who is on the darker side of the spectrum, perhaps. And I would differentiate between enjoyment and joy. So enjoyment, I do get enjoyment from writing. I wouldn't say I very often get joy from it, but I get a lot of other emotions. Some of them good and some of them bad. So to me, joy is a very strong word, and it's not the first word that springs to my mind, but certainly enjoyment, which I also get a lot of enjoyment from reading. So those two things for me, it's enjoyment is a word I'm more comfortable with rather than joy, which is a little bit heightened for my sensibilities. But I would concur with the people who are talking about research, because my what I've been focusing on, my novel is an historical text based on a real event. I've had to dig into the history of that, and especially in the early days of it, when I was discovering things about the characters, it was very exciting and really exhilarating when because they were not well-known people, and so there wasn't much to discover. So when you did discover something, it was that, I guess that could almost be a joyful experience. So I can relate to that, and to come across documents. For example, one of the documents that I came across was a coroner's report, and it's on because this involves a crime, this novel, and so the coroner's report is written in really old-fashioned cursive handwriting by the and so you've got this wonderful document in front of you which you can barely read, but it's very exciting to see it, and it just gives you a real sense of the time and the place in the way it's written, from everything from the actual physical handwriting to the language used, the kind of ideas that are revealed by what is said in the document. So that was quite an exhilarating find.
Yeah, thank you. And I think you're right. I think joy can be interpreted in many different ways, and we can find enjoyment in the difficult and challenging process of writing that we obviously will return to, in different ways. Yeah, and even dark writing and darker stories do have small moments of light in them, which I think is sometimes what makes them all more beautiful. So moving on to like joy and community, which is one of my favorite things. So I think there's a really special kind of joy from creating community from the events that we bring together with National Flash Fiction Day, and how this has built and grown across Aotearoa over the last 12 years. So I just wanted to hear from you all about what you have planned for National Flash Fiction Day this year, and how you kind of build community within your space, whether you are new to hosting the event this year or whether you have a long history like Constance does. So yeah, I'd love to hear what's happening around the country.
I could start first.
Yeah.
So I met Michelle online, and this is back in the year 2018. And someone says, "Oh, I was with New Zealand Society of Authors then, as well as the Wellington Writers' Walk." And the person says, "Oh, we need someone to organize an MC." And I raised my hand. It's like, "Oh, it doesn't sound too hard." Yeah, and of course I have to eat my words later. So that's where it all began, and I never met Michelle in person. It was all online, and that was also probably my first introduction to Flash. I've heard of short stories, but not of the Flash form. And so, that was the first year I hosted it in 2018, and it was held at a pub called the Third Eye. And it no longer exists. It shut down. And I had invited the ex-mayor, Justin Lester, to be one of our guests. So, that whole, you talk about community building, and I'm just remembering Tim Jones. He was the youth judge then, and Tim Jones, of course, now has been shortlisted, and so I think I'm getting older too. And so yes, it has been completely fun, and also completely joyful to be building that community. So I had a lot of joy. I mean, there are admittedly always going to be a bit of slight chaos at the back, but as the chair and MC, no one needs to know that.
I'm really glad you said that mentioned about the chaos at the back, because I kind of imagine that's what's going to happen on the day, which is really interesting. This is the first time for both Leanne and myself to host Flash Fiction Day event, and I'm really enjoying working with you, Leanne. We seem to have kind of slotted into whatever, into different aspects of it. And we have some great chats about all sorts of things, not just about Flash Fiction Day. And I think that part of what I've really enjoyed is kind of considering who would be good in what role, and then when you get, you think, well, this would work really well. Like we've got Trish Gribben for our MC, and when you get back that they're really happy to do it, there's that lovely feeling of, oh yes, it's going to happen. It's all going to come together. So for me, that's part of the process, and getting somebody replying and being excited about it, and the kind of relationships that you build just by asking as well, just by contacting people and say, look, could you do this? I think is really important.
Yes, I would agree with that. Moata and I had only met once before, I think, a couple of years ago at the Writers' Festival through Michelle. And when Michelle suggested that we, work on this together, we discovered that we live 5 minutes walk from each other in the same suburb in Auckland, and so it's been wonderful working with Mo. It's been a great opportunity to get to know her, and that's been delightful. And I just wanted to agree with what she said. You send off emails and you sort of half expect people to say no, or they're too busy, or I'm sorry, won't be able to do it. And almost nobody has said no. So that has been really nice. Just getting a constant flow of emails back saying, yes, I'd love to read. Yes, thank you for the opportunity. Yes, of course, I'd be glad to be there. So that's been really a real pleasure.
I think too, contacting Cafe 39 in Ponsonby, where there have been several events that Michelle has organised, and where she suggested we approached for a venue, and they were so excited about it. And there was this really interesting kōrero from the owner or manager, where he was really honoured that we would have our event there. I thought that was lovely. Yeah.
Well, Sue and I have been organising national or local flash fiction events over the last, I think it's 5 years now, and we've tried different venues. For me, getting a venue that fits, that gets my excitement sort of building when we get over that first hurdle, because we've decided this year to be in a local pub, The Judge, which is a great name for, it used to be a courthouse, so we thought the Judge was fairly appropriate. But it's the community that's built over that time, which is just wonderful. People are keen, just like Moira said. You ask them and they get a look of pleasure, joy, and excitement, and want to be part of it, which I think is brilliant. Sue is incredibly good at getting the word out. And Sue, you might want to mention who we've got coming this time.
Oh, yeah. Well, we've got a gentleman called Eddie Williams who's going to be our MC. He's a local librarian, and he's a writer, and he's a musician, so he's very much got a presence. And Deb has done the emceeing wonderfully before, but it's really nice as she's shortlisted that she can just sit back and enjoy the event. And we've managed to get the mayor and the National Party candidate and the New Zealand First candidate and the Labour Party candidate all coming. But the Judge is opposite the police station, so if there's anything that goes wild, we can just call the police.
Well, plus a whole lot of writers and
oh yes,
people who've enjoyed the event in years past. But we were quite, well, I was quite surprised. They obviously see this as an important community get together, don't they? Especially on a Monday night. I mean, what else are you doing on a Monday night? Brilliant.
This is the first time, so I'm co-hosting the Otautahi event with Rachel, and very excited to be part of it this year. But it's like a well-oiled machine. Rachel's been doing so much amazing work and, a lot of the organising and stuff. How many years, Rachel, have you been doing this for?
Actually, not that many, 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And to me was Brindy Joy, who ran the event for 10 years.
Yes. But yeah, like others have said, it's very exciting when you have people that are coming along and guest readers especially. So we've got Josiah Morgan, who is the youth judge for the National Flash Fiction Day competition. So that's super exciting. And we've also got Dietrich Solakaya, who's a poet, spoken word artist, and he's also very inspiring. So I think just those guest speakers we're just really looking forward to that. But also the youth, like getting our young people involved and giving them a chance to read, I think is really quite special. So I mean, and the other readers as well. Of course, it's great to hear all the different voices of the different people who've been, shortlisted and longlisted. But I think it's so nice to have a space for young people to share their thoughts and ideas. Yeah, and to acknowledge their writing as well. I think it's pretty cool.
Like Nima, this is the first year I'm actually hosting it with Darden Rao, and her first time as well. And our event is like really looking at getting tamariki to share their work. So we have some people as young as 10 coming along and reading their pieces that they've made onto the long list. And we have a whole bunch of teenagers coming along and sharing their work as well. We're going to be at Waikato Uni, and we're going to have some mocktails because of our audience. So we'll be enjoying the mocktail. But the event is really focused on joy, especially because we have so much tamariki coming. We really do want to just give them that moment on a, of have some joy. Let's focus for the evening on what you enjoy, what in this moment of history where it is a little bit chaotic. And I feel like so many young people get so little joy because there's so much negative narratives, because of what's going on. It's just taking just a bit of time and just here giving them a place where they can actually feel their voices are heard as well. Because I feel like we have so many platforms where you can speak, but you feel like you're talking into a void. So that's one of the things I love about these events is actually seeing people's reaction as people read, and that connection the reader has with the actual audience. And people going up afterwards saying, oh, I loved your story, or oh, I remember that place that you wrote about. So I do think these are very important events. So I'm very happy to be able to host this year.
Yeah.
Just to,
I was thinking, I was thinking I should say something about the Wellington event. So
sorry.
It's also interesting to hear some of you doing it for the first time, because I was thinking, oh my God, it actually did bring me back to that day when I do like, am I going to have a venue? Am I going to have guest readers? So I'm at a different stage now. And I have got 24 readers, and they are a cross between established writers as well as emerging writers. To me, anybody that's on the short list, they're all part of the emerging writers. And you guys are taking me back in time, because I was thinking, what were some of the things that I remember till today? And it's always like, I remember the youngest speaker, I think was only maybe like year 8 or year 9. And that story, I still remember. And then the other thing that I try to do as well is that some of our younger short lists in the youth category, they may not want to read their story because they're not too comfortable, but I always try to find a guest reader for them. And I say, when you hear your story read out aloud, the words can land differently, and they do come back to me and says, yeah, that was quite nice. So there's a lot of joy to be had, and the biggest thing that for me, the National Flash Fiction, is to celebrate a diversity of voices. And that's what I work very hard on, that when I look as an MC at the audience, I need to make sure that there are different faces, different voices, different stories. And that's what make me very happy at the end of the day.
Yeah, I was just going to say to you, Emir and Nima, kia ora for mentioning the state of the world at the moment, because I think joy is quite hard to come by, and to provide an opportunity where community can come together and these voices be heard is really important, particularly at the moment.
Yeah, I agree, Moata, and I think that's the wonder, or the thing that I love probably the most about National Flash Fiction Day, is that it is this. It's quite a prestigious event, but it has all grown quite naturally across the country, and it's such a welcoming place for first-time readers, whether they're young and old or older, experienced, and to share their voices for the first time, and to be really be heard, and to come together and joy creativity, because there's so many local creatives that, yeah, it's just really nice to support each other, I think, and come together in that way. And they all sound like amazing events. I wish I could be at all of them. I have to roam around the country for next year. We've a little bit of, oh, sorry, go Marta. Yep.
Yeah, I was just going to say, do a mihi to you too, Deb. Because we have only one reader from the long list and none on the short list in Tamaki. It's kind of prompted me to start thinking about maybe setting up a flash fiction group, writing group here. I've spoken a wee bit about it to Leanne. Yeah, I know that there were several entries from Auckland, but it would be really good to kind of be working in a group here with others that really enjoy the form too. So what you've done in Whangarei is really inspiring. What you guys up there have done is really inspiring.
Well, it's partly because of the joy of coming together. You know, we love it so much. Of course, Michelle started the group back in 2012, and it's had this. She's very good at creating sustainable community. Yeah, mihi to Michelle on that level, because not only the festival but the group that she left behind has kept going, and it's often changes, members change, but it's that pleasure in sharing, and also the stimulus that you get from the input of other members of the group. So we must talk about this out, in future.
Last year, we had 5 of our members in one of Flash Frontiers editions. 5 of our members had stories in them. We were so excited for each other. It was really, really nice that we could support each other in that way.
Yes, sorry, I didn't mention you as well. So you've been.
Oh, that's all right.
You've all been working really hard up there and having a publication. Do you have it annually? Is it annual your publication, or?
We have had it twice so far, and we're talking about next year.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, I was going to say as well that I cannot think of another literary event where you have it held concurrently at 6 to 7 Cithi, and I think I'm pretty sure, and I think that's actually an amazing fit. I mean, this is the first time I get to see all of you in the same room for how many years? I never see anyone at all, and so and the fact that most of us are doing the event at 6 o'clock. I think Rachel, maybe you're starting a little bit early at 5:30. But yeah, I mean, like Wales, I cannot think of another literary event where we just get to celebrate. And I think that's an amazing idea. I'm sure Misha doesn't even think too hard about it. It's an amazing idea, but there is it is such a wonderful idea. I remember she telling me this about back in when I heard about it, and I thought, wow, why has no one done this? And yeah, it was. I'm just like going back down memory lane, and so yeah, that's been very joyful.
Oh, it's wonderful. I'm hoping that we will all get to share some images from this as well, because I would love to see what's happening around the country, which I'm sure will be up on the website at some point. And you can pop some on Constance on social media for us so we can all celebrate together. Lastly, I thought we'd finish off talking about joy and what you are reading. So has anyone got any kind of, in it, Leanne, it can be some dark joy in there too. Anything that you're really enjoying reading at the moment for whatever reason, if you'd like to share, it's always good to have some go-to reading recommendations.
I brought it along. New Daughters of Africa. I do recommend it. It's a anthology edited by Margaret Busby. Oh, I think it's not.
I can't quite see it, but that's okay. Was it New Daughters of Africa?
Yeah, New Daughters of Africa, edited by Margaret Busby. It's a collection of African women and stories that are throughout. I think it starts all the way back in not 100% sure, but it goes throughout history. But what I love about it is there's a lot of short pieces of like flash with that they've taken from larger pieces sometimes, or it's actually been a small piece that's written. There's a beautiful description of Nairobi in there as well. So it's you just get the joy from some of the descriptions in it. So I definitely recommend it.
Kia ora, thank you, Amy.
I've been reading this novel here, Banjara by Shana Chandra. It's a new novel by a new writer, and it's interesting that we were talking earlier about the research that you do in your writing, because this is it's essentially like a historical novel, but it's about the people of Fiji and the Fiji Indians and the way that they're called the Girmitya people, who were indentured laborers brought over from India under false pretenses in the late 1800s. And so she's essentially telling the story of her ancestors. And I can see she's got two time frames going on. So and settings. So there's India in the late 1800s in 1888, and she's got a main character there. And then she's got the descendant of that character in present day Auckland, kind of looking back at that history and trying to figure out and piece together her own family history. And you can see she's done a lot of research. There's so much rich detail in these descriptions. It's a real joy to read, but it's also quite distressing and sort of bringing to light this history that a lot of people are not aware of, and that is actually not discussed amongst Fiji Indians themselves. So I went to see her. I think she spoke at the Auckland Writers Festival recently, and she was also in Christchurch giving a talk, and she spoke about how important it was for her to write this novel as part of our history in the Pacific region, and that it's drawing attention to this history that we really don't know much about. And I was sort of reflecting on how interesting it is that you can actually sort of, I guess, reclaim that history through fiction, because there's a lot of gaps in her knowledge and in a lot of people's knowledge of what actually happened, how people come across even things like names that were changed or not given correctly or not written down correctly. So how do you write about that when you don't actually have that knowledge or that history there? And she's done it in fiction, sort of piecing that together, which I think is very cool. So I'm about halfway through. It's a very good book.
I've been reading Lynn Jenner's recently launched book of prose poetry, holding it up, The Gum Trees of Kirikiri. Sue and I went to the launch, and it is, for me, it's almost like 56 flash fictions. I sort of read it like that. I really enjoyed her earlier book, Dear Sweet Harry, but this is just something else, and I highly recommend it. It's totally readable, and just small details of daily life that are just worked into this much bigger kind of tapestry of her lived experience. It's beautiful.
Late last year, I picked up a book by chance from the local library, and it's called The Hunchback. It's a translated piece of work from Japanese. The Japanese title is Hanjibaku, and it's written by Sao Ichigawa. And I wasn't even aware until after I finished reading the book that it was actually long-listed in the Booker's Prize. And the story is about the main character. She has a disability. She has some kind of severe spine curvature, and she is confined to a wheelchair, and plus she has got a ventilator as well. So and she also posts online erotica, and so it's really, at the end of the day, the book is about, I think it's an intersection. It's about desire. There is a disability as well, and of course there is the darkness that comes with it. And for a translated piece of work, it's almost quite short. It's only about 100 pages. It actually moved me because I asked myself, why have I not read a book like that? Like it seems so logical that there would be a book about disability, desire, and there would be darkness as well. And so that book has actually really set a very indelible impression on me. Might suggest to Michelle that she should look at this as a panel discussion.
Sounds great, Constance. At the moment I'm reading a really lovely book that I picked up at the library because of its cover, and it's called Paso, Paso, and it's in French. It's a response to some really whimsical drawings, which kind of set me off on a project that I'm about to launch into. And sometimes the drawings are connected to the text, and sometimes they're not. And the text is often very short, just a sentence. But a really interesting book. And also, I usually have about 3 books that I'm reading at a time, because I kind of get so far with one, and then I want to pick up another one, and I don't know. I find it hard just to read one book at a time unless it's absolutely gripping. So I was also reading, because we have Paula Morris. These are interesting connections. Because we have Paula Morris coming to read it in Auckland and also to announce the winners. She said that she would like to read a story out of a book of Michelle's called, and I'm not clear, I'm not remembering the title correctly, but it's something like Venice, Ulysses, and something, which I didn't even know existed. So I had to get that out of the library. And then I found in that a piece that I absolutely loved by Tracy Slaughter, who I haven't really read before. So I dashed down and got another book from her, of hers, called Devil's Trumpet. So these 3 kind of disconnections are going on at the same time.
Has anybody else jumped on this bandwagon? Does this book look familiar to you? Oh, it's a bit of a literary sensation at the moment. So it is On the Calculation of Volume, is the name of the book. And it is 7 books, very short books, more or less a novella length, that are all part of the same story that revolves around a character who finds herself trapped on a particular day, which repeats over and over again. And the day is the 18th of November. And it's written by a Danish author who now lives in France, I think. And as I said, it's a bit of a sensation at the moment. So I'm up to this is volume 4, which just came from the library on Friday. So I've read the first 3. This is the middle one, and then there's 3 more. And it's a very strange book. But for some reason, it has me intrigued, and I keep plugging away at it. I don't quite know what's going on, but I'm going to hang in there. My book group read the first one, volume 1. Well, there were 7 in my book group, and we all read volume 1, and most people went, oh, this is very strange. I don't like this. And only 2 of us decided we would persist. We would persist and keep going. So we're plugging away, and every other month we give them an update of where we've got up to. So they're interested enough to know, they keep saying, have you found out why she's trapped on the 18th of November? And we just look at each other and say, no, not yet. So I have a feeling it might be one of those books where you never do find out why she's trapped on the... But anyway, all the books had more or less the same cover. And once you know about this book, you'll come across stuff about it all the time, because, as I said, it's a bit of a sensation at the moment. So that's giving me an enjoyment of sorts, that one.
Rachel, what are you reading?
This is what I've read recently. It's a really tiny book. It's maybe, very, very small in size, and it's made up of lots and lots of short stories. It's called People from My Neighborhood, and it's by a Japanese writer, Hiromi Kawakami. And it's almost like it's all about people from the same neighborhood, almost surrealist, like all these very strange things happen. I really liked it. So I recommend that one. And I thought I will collate all of these and put them in the comments in the on YouTube as well for anyone who wants to come back to them and find some reading. So did you have anything that you wanted to share for reading?
Oh, I just saying, interesting that Deb was talking about Lynn Jenner, because I've been looking at her book, Dear Sweet Harry, and I've also been looking at Lloyd Jones' book, which is called The Book of Fame. And the reason being that I'm working on a project on my uncle and trying to put together lots of poems and short stories to make some sort of collection. And that's what both these books do. And this one, particularly, The Book of Fame by Lloyd Jones, it's looking at a rugby tour in 1905, which sounds like the driest thing in the world. And it's beautiful pieces of poetry and glimpses of life at that time, quite whimsical, very, very nice.
Oh, thank you, Sue. Yeah, and this brings us to the end of the hour. It's been a wonderful conversation. Ka nui ngā mihi kia koutou. Thank you all so much for your time and your thoughts today. Yeah, and thank you to everyone who's joined us online as well. I can tell that it's going to be a wonderful National Flash Fiction Day celebrations all across the country. And just a reminder that all of these Festival of Flash panels can be viewed on the Flash Frontier YouTube channel, and they will be up in the new issue of Flash Frontier, which comes out after National Flash Fiction Day. So thank you all again. Yeah, happy National Flash Fiction Day. Have a wonderful, wonderful day on Monday, the 22nd of June, celebrating our local writers.